Yo.
Hey, okay, we gotta hurry up with this. I don't have much time.
Okay,
So
but before we start, I want to pull up a thing that I'm doing. Yeah,
no, no. Is this another intro, man?
it's not an intro. We're gonna do. It's gonna be fun. Okay, ready? Ready?
Oh God. Okay.
It's a little out of tune. Sorry. Hold on.
Patrick, we really don't have time for this.
Okay, I got this.
Hey, did you
We
take
got
jazz
this.
band? I feel like you
Shut
took
the
jazz.
fuck up. You ready? Here we go.
I don't have time for this, man.
All right. Did it press? It didn't go, did it?
It didn't go. No.
Fuck.
I was like,
Damn.
I'm sitting there.
How long were you gonna let me do that for?
I don't
Fuck.
know.
That's the intro. This is the goddamn song.
It's Patrick Beatty reviews, the number one for news. It's Patrick Beatty reviews, number one for news. Yeah, tune in, get up. Yeah, what's up?
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What is up, my gaggle geeks? And welcome Patreons, the basic geeks, the sexy geeks, and the geek gods. This is our new format. We're going to start some movie reviews for the new year, and there are movies that came out Christmas week that are huge. We've already done Wonder Woman 1984. You can check that out. And now we're talking about Pixar's Soul that dropped the same day as Wonder Woman 1984. Chaz, you had a chance to see this a little bit later, so you got to see some of the hype and stuff. What were you thinking going into it?
People were saying that was gonna wreck adults more than children. I didn't know what to expect from that, except I knew it was from the same guy who did Up, and that movie wrecked me. So if it was anything along those lines, I was kind of preparing myself for a journey that I wasn't really prepared for.
That isn't that the truth with this? Like, this is the first Pixar film that really caught me off guard with what we were going to be getting into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would you say, because most people have been saying that this is an adult Pixar film, like this really isn't even a kid's film.
I mean, it's a little bit more out there compared to like what Pixar's known for, but I think Pixar still handles the mature themes, if you will, like mature. It's even like mature. It's just, I don't know. I don't think kids will pick up on it without the experience of life, having to live. So for me being 26, I mean, I've questioned what the hell I'm doing with my life, especially after having a college degree, so this movie kind of echoes that statement quite a bit. So it hit harder than I think it will with like say a 7 or 8 year old, but I don't think it's so far out there they won't understand it.
Well, let's talk about the synopsis of this. It's a musician who has lost his passion for music and is after I don't know, is it a near death experience or is it he's dead? Like at that point.
I would like to say that he's dead, but then
Only mostly dead or whatever the thing is.
yeah.
So he ends up going to the celestial plane where he basically has to find his way back to help by helping out one of the souls that are on this plane
Right.
that really haven't had a passion or developed anything to go to Earth, learn about herself, and potentially get him to be able to go to this gig that he was doing because he's a really passionate musician. He's a band teacher, and the first shot when you get to see the brass instruments. That's why I brought the trumpet out. Actually, there's a lot to do with the trumpet, mainly with passions and goals that I want to get into. But he's seeing one of his students play the trombone and really get into it, and he starts talking about why it was his passion, and we get kind of a lead in into what is a character that I feel like anybody can relate to. Like what you said, Chaz, the older that you get, the more you relate to this character. And I do think that age plays a huge part in whether you're going to be all the way in on this premise.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, that's the fairest way to say it, really. It's going to be
It's
weird.
all about passions. It's about life, and it's about how life takes turns and whether your passions follow with that or what things that you develop and is what you're meant to be actually something that was predetermined? Is it something that you learn along the way? There's
Yeah.
all kinds of different stuff with it. What were your thoughts, because you were talking about with your degree and stuff, but what about like just your personal goals and then like where you're working towards? How has Soul kind of changed that or made you look at it differently?
Well, it got me thinking because like he keeps stating throughout the film that like he's a musician, that's what he's meant to do, right? And they're like, that's not what you're meant to do, though. There's so much more behind that. And like it got me thinking because like I love to write and I love to movies and storytelling in that sense, but I've never really questioned why, like what's the initial drive behind that. So it got me to question more of my intent with the passion, if you will.
Well, when he gets to this new world, and this is kind of the fun thing with Pixar, especially with this director that we have. The director on this was Pete Docter and Kemp Powers, who co-directed. They had worked on Up, the first 9 minutes of Up. They worked on Inside Out, which definitely that is also a more cerebral film. This is probably the Pixar's most cerebral. But they mess with 2D animation, they mess with 3D animation. Some of the characters that are in the celestial plane, they're all named Counselor Jerry. And their goals are getting these little soul things to Earth. This is where it's very Pixar-like because they're able to very simply explain something that's incredibly complex, like talking about the afterlife, and they've simplified it down to this like beautiful open plane that you could just walk through and do whatever. Like there's so much you could probably write a book about how they decided to go with what heaven or wherever this place is.
Yeah, dude, they talk about like chakras, they talk about reincarnation, these heavy, complex topics all presented within 5 minutes.
Seriously.
And the world they present is so beautiful and just, I don't know, be fun to be there, And even like the void, essentially, like the light after death that people talk about so often, the way that's presented, it's not haunting like a lot of people think. I mean, that was very like a meditative imagery, if you will,
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely agree. Jamie Foxx plays this lead character, and the soul that's trying to get to Earth with him is voiced by Tina Fey. I think they both were incredibly well cast in this. They have really good chemistry, and I think that Jamie Foxx, I don't know, this is probably one of my favorite performances from him, and he's not even on screen.
Yeah, I like Collateral still. That's my top Jamie Foxx.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I said one of.
I know. No, I didn't know it was Jamie Foxx in this. Fun fact, either going into it, hearing his voice, I'm like, is that Jamie Foxx? I had to like look into it, but yeah, dude, Tina Fey as well. I didn't know it was Tina Fey either. Like, I wasn't sure who the cast was. I was just more aware of the premise, but I think Jamie Foxx pulled off that character very well. Voiced him very well.
In the animation, like I touched on this before, but the way that they made the brass instruments look in this blew my mind. It looked better than real. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it looked like the crispiness of like this shot that was sure it was. You can say it's a fully rendered shot. This isn't anything that's actually in real life, but it looked so tangible. Like the way it was lit, the way that it reflected off of other lights, the metal, it was incredible.
I think this is one of Pixar's best looking films.
I agree.
And they have to kind of outdo themselves with their next film because Toy Story 4 wasn't that bad looking either. I mean, when that hit, people were comparing the texture of Woody's clothing, from the first Pixar film to how much detail is in there now. The attention to detail with like, especially like the haircut scene, the barber scene, like all the little hairs on the head, like it's so detailed.
Well, that's the thing I'm glad that you touched on, because there's a big part of representation in this movie too when it comes to the African American community and Black culture. Much like how Coco was very representative of Mexican culture, this scene in particular at the barbershop is probably one of the pivotal moments of the entire film, because this is where that's a spoiler. Not going to tell you. It's a pivotal moment in this where like you definitely are going to want to watch it just for that scene alone. And then you're gonna want to watch it for the beautiful animation, and then you're just gonna want to watch it so you can cry a little, and maybe not feel so bad about the choices that you've had to make in life that maybe feels like you're sacrificing your dream, because maybe your dream isn't meant to be your dream.
Well, let me ask you a question then. So, like, how did you relate to the message that was being kind of woven throughout it?
Well, it's kind of interesting. That's why I brought the trumpet out because, with like what you alluded to at the beginning of this, I did do a lot of band stuff, like all the way being raised up. My grandpa was a huge part of me doing music and following music as a career. So the best thing that, like, if I were to be going into any field, it should have been music. 100% should have been music, especially from the beginning. Like, I was playing on cruise ships. I was doing all kinds of weird stuff. I was doing shows. During college, and it really felt like that was the direction it was going. But life had a way of changing things, and then you start to realize different things, and without those changes and without the things that make life what life is, like the complexity, the change with everything that happens, nothing is really stable, like anything can move around, and embracing that, I would never have gotten into movies.
That's interesting. Wait, so did you do band or jazz or like
Well,
what
it was
was
a
your
regular band. I did jazz
okay?
band early in the morning. Like, I would ride my bike at 5 in the morning, um, maybe like probably 5 miles or so to the school, and like it always had this big U where you had to go like all the way down one side and then go all the way up on the other side and all the way down on one side and all the way up going home, and had like the little trumpet case hanging onto it, and like a tire would pop. It was the worst, and it was so cold in the morning. It was
So, and then we ask you another question then. So in the movie, there is the zone, as they call it. You know, that's represented to be in the same plane of like being connected to some sort of source, right?
mm.
Did you relate to that at all? Where you know he's definitely lost in the zone. We see that pretty early on, like when he's very much
Mm.
into it. Can you relate to that at all? Playing the trumpet or
You know, I think I can get into that because I wasn't just with trumpet; it was guitar and piano and things like
right?
that. So I can do that with some of the instruments when I'm just like messing around. Like, that's kind of what getting into the zone is. I I think maybe this wasn't something. Well, no, they did kind of touch on this, where your anxiety can grab a hold of you and kind of submerge you into this thing where you cannot perform where you're supposed to, and you can't get into that zone because
Yeah.
there's too much headspace going on. I do suffer from that a lot. Like, the podcast has helped a lot because you have to think on your feet, and I don't most of the time. So it's really challenging in a lot of senses because it's just like I have no idea what to talk about today. And so, like, improvising and stuff has helped a ton. I don't even know what the question was with this.
It
I'm
was just
lost.
like how do you relate being in the zone?
Uh, I'll say that I haven't really hit. Maybe I've not hit that zone when it comes to all this stuff, just because it's all new still. But when you feel like kind of euphoric about what you're doing, I think that's the best way to put it. Maybe not like where you've zoned out and you blink and suddenly you've written a full play or something, but just like that euphoria of like, I'm doing something that I love. Everything is going in the right direction, and this is fun. You know.
Yeah.
What about you?
I love the way it was portrayed because like a couple weeks ago, like just for an example, I finished another first draft and I wrote I think like 18 pages in the span of 3 hours.
Hmm.
So it's definitely in that zone and being lost there. Like I mean, you do lose track of time essentially, like you said with like blink and then you write like a play, you know.
Hmm.
Because like I even made food that night, like I made dinner, pizza, and I let it sit out like an hour and a half without even thinking about eating it.
God.
So like the way that he was so lost in the zone in the movie, I loved it, man. And like it does feel like you're connected to some sort of otherworldly thing than like physical stuff. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I feel like when you are there, I mean that is your passion connecting with what you want to go for in life. You know?
Yeah. Well,
But
and how long does following a passion end up hindering you from seeing things that are different and things that you could explore, like what they alluded to with him being a band teacher aspiring for greatness, you know? Like, if
yeah,
he's always looking for what's in his mind great, he's not able to stop and look at what's at right there in front of him. That in a lot of cases happen, but most of the time you see kind of it's very nuanced, the story, right? It has so many layers to it. I love it so much. When he's talking with his mom, like his relationship with his mother, super complicated. Like,
super, yeah,
but one that, again, why I'm saying that Pixar has made an adult film that works on an entirely new level that I don't think any of the other Pixar films have.
Well, yeah, and it kind of, as the film goes on, because like the film presents him to be this great musician, right? And there's no doubt about it that he is. But as the film goes on, we kind of realize that he's hindered by his own selfishness.
Mm.
And that's a very hard thing to accept, of somebody being so selfish in their own pursuit of passion, because like whenever you are pursuing your own passion, like it's hard to think that you're being selfish in that sense, you know. But
It is a very selfish act, though. Like
yeah,
following, like I think of that every day when it comes to like situations where, well, maybe I could be making a ton more money doing something that I don't want to do, but I'm taking care of the family and we could have a house by now, or like all kinds of different scenarios where it's like if I'm not doing what I'm doing right now, could I be better off trying something else? But,
right, yeah,
But what it comes down to is doing what you're loving, and making life worth being a part of. Like being in that dead end job, like one of the shots that they have when they're in that kind of sand dune thing, showing one of the people being dusted off, and then the reaction to that. I felt that so many times when it comes to customer service jobs, like all the time. But they did such a good way to illustrate all of this. I think it's definitely worth watching, and probably up there with one of the best Pixar films ever made.
yeah. I would agree.
Do you have a rating on it? Have you thought of one?
Yeah, I give it 5 out of 5.
Nice. Yep. I think I went with I went with 9, but the more I've thought about it, 10. Let's just do 10 out of 10. Nick's easy. I don't know whether to be stingy with those high ratings or not.
I
You
don't
know
know,
what I
man.
mean?
Here's the thing. I did have one issue with the film. Well, I had just maybe two, but like one main issue I had was actually with the ending. So I don't know if you want to talk about that with the spoiler kind of thing side of things or what, but the way it ended, it kind of left me feeling unsure what was going on.
Let's leave that up to our Patreon fans, and if they do want to do a spoiler episode of this, to let us know, because I think for now, I think we've pretty much crossed everything that we want to on this, and I just want people to go watch this stupid movie. Like, go watch it. It's stupid and awesome and beautiful. It's not stupid.
Did you cry then? Let me ask you that final question. Did you cry?
I don't think I really teared up too much with this. Like there was a lot of emotional moments, especially towards the end, but I don't think it really broke me too much. The thing that broke me more was Luke Skywalker, if I'm gonna be real. Doesn't that suck?
Dude, I ugly cried in this. It was a similar cry to the Mandalorian episode where, you know, baby Grogu and the Mando, but I ugly cried. I think I blame my friend partially because she said I should have a glass of wine with the movie because of how heavy it's going to be. So I had several glasses of wine that probably added a lot to the emotional, like
insulated, and then it just kicked it. Here's the Pixar term that I always say: this film will kick you right in the tearsticles.
yeah,
It
well,
will
it's-
happen.
like another interesting element that I find is that they got Trent Reznor to do the score.
Mhm.
And Trent Reznor is known for, you know, Nine Inch Nails, which is very much not happy go get
Yeah.
him inspiring music. But he's a great film composer, and the fact that he totally worked on this, which is the complete opposite of what he's known for, you know, of being inspirational and happy. Like, I think that's such a cool like arc for him as a composer, to be
for
attached
sure.
to this. And like I think jazz music, it made me want to listen to jazz music the night
Jazz
of.
music is
So.
my favorite. That's why this movie really hit me, was just being like, oh, he did a lot of jazz music too. Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Well, please go and check this out. Thank you to our Patreons. This is coming on early for them to check out. It'll be on a couple days afterward, like Wonder Woman 1984. It's up right now on the Patreon, so you can go and check it out. Subscribe. Look, the lowest tier is $3. That's less than a cup of coffee a month. Totally worth it. The more that we put out stuff, the more that we get people jumping in, the more we're going to be wanting to pull all the stops out for things for people. What do you think of the Patreon idea so far?
Are you asking me or the Patreon?
Yeah.
I love
don't
it,
know.
man.
I trailed off, and so I was like, let's end it with a question.
I was looking at the tiers, and I love how you have the basic geek. Like, how basic can you be,
You got
right?
your basic geek, but that doesn't mean that, no, because some people are just like,
Geeks. They're just geeks.
they're they wander by. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
they're not into it too much, but they'll be geeky. But if you want to be a sexy geek,
Yeah.
you got to be a sexy geek. And if you want to be a geek god, that's when things really ramp up. So please make sure that you check it out. And if you can, go ahead and do it. There'll be more things to happen from there. I want to thank Chaz for doing this review with me. We're going to be doing plenty more from here. And I don't know, Chaz, do you want me to close us out with a song? A little ditty?
Oh god, dude.
A little ditty. Here we go.
You gonna... Ooh. Patrick.